Okay, so last week we sewed this part of our frog where you could stick your arm through it. You shouldn't have this edge sewn or this edge. These should be open. So what we're going to do, and this is where we're going to get our shape, is we're going to turn it back to right sides together. And we are going to put these corners together like this. This is how we get the shape. So it was flat like this, and now we're going like this, okay? This is not a straight line, so we have to make that a straight line. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna draw it, because it's kind of hard to sew that when it's so wonky. So I am going to just draw a straight line. I'm going to go sew that line and then trim off the excess. We'll sew a little bit on this side of it so we have a little bit of seam allowance. I'll be right back.
Alice.
So now we're just going to cut this excess off, and you can kind of see my stitch line on here. We want to leave about a 1/4 inch seam. And we just want the extra fabric out of the way for the next part. Okay? Alright, so let me look at our pattern. This is where we are boxing the corners of our frog to get this part and this part, so it'll be more boxy so he can stand up. So what we're going to do is make sure that you're working on the right side with this, because if you do the top one smaller and the bottom one longer, it'll be backwards. So let's just make sure that we do it right the first time. I don't know if I mentioned, make sure you backstitch on both ends here. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to turn it back this way. We're going to want one corner. I'm going to do the side that has the panel, the front of our frog. So you just want this to where this is in the middle. Okay. We have a little triangle here. See that triangle? Okay. On the top, we are going to go down, top 2 inches down. Okay, so we're going to measure 2 inches, which this mat, you can see the measurements on here. So our corner is here. We have 1, 2, and we are going to draw a line right here. We're actually going to sew on that line. So what I'm going to go ahead and do, you can't even see that line. Let me do it on the other side of the marker. Okay, right there. So we're going to sew on that line. So while I'm here, I'm going to go ahead and cut a 1/4 inch seam right here. On the other side, we're going to do almost the same thing, but just a little bit different. We're going to turn it around and do this other corner. It should be available just like that for you. Hopefully it'll be all nice and neat. This one's a little bit longer, and you'll notice on our frog, this bottom is a lot longer than the top. So this one we're actually going to go down 3 inches and a 1/4. So we're going to make this nice and neat. And we are going to measure 3 inches and a 1/4. So we have 1, 2, 3, 1/4 inch. Make sure he's straight, or she. We don't know what our frog really is. Okay, let's see. This one's going to be a girl, I think. Okay, so 1, 2, 3 and a 1/4. And I'm going to mark that line. Make sure I didn't move anything. And I'm going to sew that line. So I'm going to go ahead and cut off this portion. I'm going to go sew these separately, back stitching up both ends, and I'll be back, and this is when we stuff the frog. Okay, we're back. Now we're gonna turn our frog right side out for the final time. Poke out those corners. You don't need a tool for that, for this. Pretty easy. And now you can see where that box shape was formed on the back here. So we have that. Now we're gonna stuff them. Our stuffing is a mixture of rice and just a little bit of stuffing. There's more rice than stuffing. I always put my rice in first because you kind of want that weight at the bottom. Sometimes when you put the polyfill in first, it will, the rice has a hard time getting through it. Okay, so rice first. You don't want to overfill it. You can always put more. You can always put it back too. This is not my home rice. This is my sewing rice. So, okay. See how we are there? I think we need a little bit more. There's really no measurement to this. I've never measured it. Try not to get rice everywhere. So that's where we're at, right there. Okay, we don't want to fill past this mark right here, or even close, really, because we're going to have to put pins all along here, and I'm going to show you how to do that in just a second. Okay, now let's get our polyfill. You don't need as much of this as you think, but you can kind of put it in there and poke it around a little bit. I can already tell. I think I've gone a little too much to make this easy. Take some out. Okay. So our next thing that we're going to sew is this portion right here. So we want to make sure that we're not sewing any rice or any stuffing in our machines. So we're going to push that down really good. Again, do not overstuff it. That's really going to complicate things. Okay. We are going to pin down here, as you can see. Do as I say, not as I do. I have overfilled. Okay, push that down. Okay, we're going to take our pins. We need lots of pins for this. First, I'm going to go ahead and pin this closed. Okay. So, we want to put all of our pins all along here. We're kind of creating a seal. So when we go to sew, we're not sewing any of our stuffing or anything. So we just want to make sure that this is completely covered all the way across. And this is about a 1/4 inch from where you are going to sew. Sometimes I'll crisscross them, but I didn't overfill this one, so I don't think we'll have any problems. Well, I did on that side. Okay. So now what we're going to go do on our machine is we're going to sew right in this little ditch that's called stitching in the ditch. And it kind of just hides the seam. You'll have one less seam that you'll see. You're going to sew along here. After that, and I'm going to go ahead and mark it because while I'm at my sewing machine, I'm going to go ahead and do the other part of our gusset. It's just 3/4 of an inch from here. If you're going to use this mostly for like a tablet, like an iPad, you can even do 1 inch. This is a very versatile project here. So it's kind of hard to hold this because you have to measure from this side. So I'm just going to eyeball it just a little bit. Marking this here and putting this right here and marking my line. So for you guys, I would do this in like a light pencil, but I'm going to do it my red marker. I'm going to do the lighter side though, so we don't see it too much. So that's where I'm going to sew my second line. I'll be right back. So I've stitched those, that line and your gusset right there. And all that's left to do besides putting our eyes on is putting some stuffing in here and then closing this shut. And you don't have to hand stitch this at the end. You can do this all on the machine and just stitch along here. So to make it a little bit easier, I use quilt batting for this part so we don't just have a bunch of stuffing sticking out. So I'm going to go ahead and get a cut of that and show it to you. So here we have about a 6" by about 5" piece of batting, and this kind of has scrim on here, and this is just to help it keep it from stretching out, but you'll see that it's a little bit bumpy, so we're going to have the soft side out. So with the bumpy side up, we're just going to roll it up. And if you want like a really big bumper on there, especially if you're going to do like an iPad, you can take a little bit of stuffing and kind of put it in here and then roll it up. But I'm not doing that. I'm going to keep this one simple. So we're just going to roll this guy up. Just as easy as that. I know y'all can all do that, right? And we're going to stick this in here. And you're almost done. And you have a lot of room here at the end. There's a lot of extra fabric. Just in case there's a mistake, there's just a little bit of wiggle room in this project. We're going to stuff it in there. If it's too long, we can cut it off at the ends. This one looks to be just about right. So I'm going to put some pins on here so it'll be easy when I go to my machine to stitch this closed. If you want a little bit cleaner of an edge, of course you can hand stitch it, but if there's a way to do it on a machine, I'm going to usually go that direction. If you have a zipper foot, it would make this a little bit easier, since it would actually make the whole project easier. But an all-purpose sewing foot that you've used all year works just fine. That's what I'm using. Okay, I'm going to go sew that, and then I'll be back and put the eyes on and show you the finished project. As I was getting my eyes out after I sewed this completely shut, I remember that we missed a very important part of our frog. I forgot the feet. And I would re-record this, but I'm not a professional anyway, so what you're going to do before you sew this line is you're just going to stick those in there and make them part of your frog. But we're just going to pretend they're in there. And then we're going to get our hot glue gun that I'll have tomorrow, and I'm going to pin it on so we get the final look. So there's our frog, and I would put a phone in it and show it off, but my phone is the one doing the recording, so. But there's our final product. Alright, thanks guys.